I woke up
I
and
remember
touched
the
my
way,
head.
wait at the moment.
My hair was gone.
The air thick,
every
fucking
single
romantic,
strand,
like this way.
shaved off like
I remember
was
the
nobody.
wait at the moment.
And pinned to my pillow was a
The air
note
thick,
that made my
fucking
blood turn
romantic,
to
like
ice.
this way.
Congratulations.
I remember the wait
you
at the
finally
moment.
have a haircut that
The
matches
air
your
thick,
age.
fucking romantic, like
Today
this
was
way.
my son's wedding day.
I remember the
If you're loving
wait
this
at the
story,
moment.
please hit that
The
like
air
button,
thick, fucking
share it with
romantic,
someone
like
who
this
needs to
way.
hear this, and
I remember
subscribe
the
so you
wait at
never
the
miss what
moment.
happens next.
The air
My
thick,
name is
fucking
Margaret
romantic,
Shaw.
like this way.
I'm 52 years
I
old,
remember the wait
and
at
until
the
this
moment.
morning,
The
I was
air
a
thick,
powerful
fucking
woman.
romantic,
I
like
built
this way.
buildings that touched the sky.
I remember the wait
I
at
owned
the
half the
moment.
real estate in Boston.
The air thick,
People
fucking
respected me,
romantic, like this
but
way.
right now, lying in
I
my bed
remember
with
the
my
wait
head
at
burning
the
and
moment.
smooth as an egg,
The air
I
thick,
felt like the
fucking
smallest
romantic, like
person in
this
the
way.
world. I jumped out of
remember the
bed
wait
and
at the
ran to the
moment.
bathroom.
The
My
air
legs
thick,
shook.
fucking romantic,
My heart
like this way.
pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears.
Wait at the moment.
When I looked in the mirror,
The air thick,
I barely
fucking romantic,
recognized
like
myself.
this way.
The woman staring back
remember
had a
wait
red,
at the moment.
shiny head.
The air
No
thick,
hair,
fucking romantic,
nothing,
like this
just
way.
raw skin that
I
burned
remember
like
the
fire.
wait at the moment.
I could still smell the
The air
sharp
thick,
chemical
fucking
smell
romantic,
of whatever
like
they
this
used to
way.
do this to me.
I
My
remember
scalp
wait
felt like
at the
someone had
moment.
rubbed it with sandpaper.
The air thick,
I wanted to
fucking
scream.
romantic, like this
I wanted
way.
to cry.
I
I wanted to
remember
collapse on
wait
the
at the
floor
moment.
and disappear.
The air thick,
but I
fucking
didn't,
romantic, like
because
this way.
I knew exactly
I remember
who
the
did this to me.
wait at the moment.
Victoria,
The
my
air thick,
future
fucking
daughter-in-law.
romantic, like
I
this
walked
way.
back to my bedroom slowly.
I remember the wait
each
at the
step
moment.
feeling heavy.
The
On
air
my
thick,
nightstand
fucking
sat a
romantic,
fancy
like this way.
white envelope.
I
The
remember
handwriting on it
wait
was
at the
perfect,
moment.
too
The air
perfect,
thick,
like
fucking
someone
romantic,
practiced
like
it
this way.
100 times.
I
It
remember
said,
wait at
"Have
the
a
moment.
great day at MY
The
wedding,"
air thick,
with a
fucking
little heart
romantic,
drawn
like
at the
this
end.
way.
When I picked it
I
up,
remember
I
wait
smelled
at the
expensive
moment.
perfume.
The
The
air
same
thick,
perfume
fucking
Victoria
romantic, like
wore
this way.
every single day.
I
The
remember
same
wait
perfume
at
that
the
made my
moment.
nose itch whenever
The
she
air
hugged
thick,
me with her
fucking
fake
romantic,
smile.
like this way.
My hands started shaking.
I remember wait
not
at
from
the
fear,
moment.
from
The
anger.
air thick, fucking
I looked at my
romantic,
safe
like
in the
this way.
corner of the room.
I
It was still
remember
open from
wait
last
at the
night.
moment.
Inside
The air
was
thick,
another
fucking
envelope, a
romantic,
much
like
more
this way.
important one.
I
Inside
remember
that
wait
envelope
at
were
the
papers
moment.
that would give
The
Victoria
air
and
thick,
my son
fucking
David
romantic, like
$22
this way.
million.
I remember
$22 million.
at the moment.
That was my
The air
wedding
thick,
gift to
fucking
them.
romantic,
Money
like
I
this
worked
way.
my whole life to earn.
I remember
Money I
wait at the
saved by
moment.
waking up at 5 in
The
the
air
morning
thick,
every
fucking
day.
romantic,
Money
like
I
this way.
earned by reading boring
I remember
contracts
wait
until midnight.
at the moment.
Money that
The
represented
air thick,
everything I
fucking
built after my
romantic, like
husband
this way.
died and left me
I
alone
remember
with a
wait at
12-year-old
the
boy.
moment.
I had planned to
air
give them
thick,
this
fucking
money
romantic,
because
like
I
this way.
loved my son,
I remember
because I wanted
wait
him
at the
to be
moment.
happy,
The
because
air
I
thick,
thought it would
fucking
bring us
romantic,
closer
like
together
this way.
as a family.
I
But
remember
now,
wait at the
now,
moment.
staring at
The
that
air
envelope
thick,
with my
fucking
bald head
romantic,
burning,
like this way.
I felt something change
I remember
inside me.
wait at the moment.
That money was
The air
never
thick,
leaving this
fucking
safe.
romantic, like
I
this
walked
way.
over, picked
I
up the
remember
envelope,
wait
and
at the
held it in my
moment.
hands.
The air
paper
thick,
felt
fucking
different now.
romantic, like this way.
Before, it felt like love.
I remember
now
wait
it
at
felt
the
like a
moment.
weapon.
The
A
air
weapon
thick,
someone
fucking
tried to use
romantic,
against
like
me.
this way.
I put the envelope
I
back in the
remember
safe,
wait at the
closed the
moment.
heavy door,
The
and
air
turned the
thick,
lock.
fucking romantic,
The metal
like
made a
this way.
solid click that
I
echoed
remember
in the quiet room.
wait at the moment.
That click felt like
The
the
air
most
thick,
satisfying
fucking
sound
romantic,
I'd
like
ever
this way.
heard. Then I picked
I
up my
remember
phone and called
wait at
James
the
Parker,
moment.
my lawyer.
The air
He's helped
thick,
me with my
fucking
business for
romantic,
20
like this
years.
way.
He
I
answered after
remember
2 rings.
wait at the moment.
Margaret.
The
Good
air
morning.
thick, fucking
Are you ready to
romantic,
sign
like
the
this way.
transfer papers?
I
I have
remember
everything
wait at the
prepared just
moment.
like you asked.
The air
I took a
thick,
deep
fucking
breath.
romantic,
My
like this
voice
way.
came out steady and cold.
I remember wait
James,
at the
stop
moment.
everything.
The air
Don't
thick,
transfer
fucking
a single
romantic,
penny.
like this way.
Not $1 moves
I
today.
remember wait at
Silence.
the moment.
Then,
The air thick,
is something
fucking
wrong?
romantic, like
Yes,
this way.
I said
I
quietly.
remember wait
Something
at
is
the
very
moment.
wrong.
The
I
air
need you to
thick,
come to my
fucking
house
romantic,
tonight after
like
the
this
wedding.
way.
We're going to
I
rewrite my
remember
entire
wait
will.
at the moment.
Margaret, what
The air
happened?
thick, fucking
I
romantic,
closed my
like
eyes.
this way.
I woke up,
I remember
James.
wait at
That's
the
what
moment.
happened. I
The air
finally
thick,
woke up.
fucking romantic,
I
like
hung up the
this way.
phone and sat
I
down on the edge
remember
of my bed.
wait at the moment.
My whole body was
The
shaking,
air thick,
but not
fucking
from
romantic,
fear
like
anymore.
this way.
I felt
I
something
remember
burning in my
wait at
chest.
the moment.
Something powerful.
The air thick, fucking
Victoria
romantic that
thought
likes
she
this
could
way.
break me. She
I
thought
remember the
shaving my
weight
head
of
would
the
make me
moment.
too embarrassed to
The
show up
air
at the
thick,
wedding.
fucking romantic
She
that
thought
likes
I would
this
hide
way.
in my room and
I
cry while
remember
she
the
married my
weight of the
son
moment.
and took
The
everything I
air
worked
thick,
for.
fucking romantic
She
that
was
likes
wrong.
this way.
I stood up
I
and
remember
walked
the
to my
weight
closet.
of the moment.
I pulled out a
The air
beautiful
thick,
navy
fucking
blue dress,
romantic that likes
the
this
one I
way.
bought myself after
I
finishing my
remember the
biggest
weight
business
of the
deal.
moment.
I remembered
The
how
air
proud I
thick,
felt that
fucking
day,
romantic that
how
likes this way.
strong I felt.
I remember
I would
the
need that
weight of the
strength today.
moment.
The
The
phone
air
rang
thick,
again.
fucking romantic
This
that
time it
likes
was
this way.
Rosa. The woman
I
who's cut
remember
my
the
hair
way-
for
the weight
20
of the
years.
moment.
My throat
air
felt
thick,
tight,
fucking
but I
moment,
kept
either
my
like
voice
this way.
calm. Rosa,
I remember the
I
way-
need
the
you
weight
right
of the
now.
moment.
Bring your best
The air
wig.
thick,
The
fucking
most
moment,
beautiful
either
one
like
you
this
have.
way.
Nobody
I
can know what
remember the way-
happened.
the weight of the
Rosa
moment.
is smart.
The
She
air
didn't
thick,
ask
fucking
questions.
moment, either like
She
this
just
way.
whispered,
I
I'll be
remember
there
the way-
in
the
20
weight of the
minutes.
moment.
While
The
I
air
waited,
thick,
I
fucking
sat by the
moment, either
window
like this
and
way.
watched snow falling
I
outside.
remember the way- the weight
White
of the
flakes
moment.
covered everything,
The air thick,
the
fucking
trees,
moment,
the
either like
paths,
this way.
the whole yard.
I
It
remember the
looked
way- the
peaceful,
weight of the
but I
moment.
didn't feel peaceful at
The
all.
air thick,
I
fucking
thought
moment,
about
either
my
like
life.
this way.
How I became a
I
widow
remember the way-
at
the weight of the
32.
moment.
How my husband
air
Richard
thick,
died
fucking
suddenly,
moment, either like
leaving me
this way.
alone with young David.
I remember the
How
way-
I
the weight of
promised
the
my
moment.
son would never feel
The air
scared
thick,
or
fucking
hungry.
moment, either like
How I
this
worked
way.
harder than any man I
remember
knew
the
to
way-
keep that
the weight of
promise.
the moment.
I built apartment
air thick,
buildings,
fucking moment,
then
either like
office
this way.
towers, then
I
shopping
remember the
centers.
weight of the
Every
moment.
brick, every
The air
contract,
thick, fucking moment,
every
either
deal
like
was
this
soaked
way.
in my sweat and tears.
I remember the weight- the
I
weight
did
of
it
the
all for
moment.
David. And
The air
now
thick,
his future
fucking
wife
moment,
thought
either
she
like
could
this way.
humiliate me and steal
I remember the
everything.
weight of the
Not
moment.
today. The
The
doorbell
air thick,
rang.
fucking moment,
I let
either
Rosa
like
in.
this way.
She carried
I
a
remember
long
the
black
weight-
box.
weight of the moment.
When she saw my
The
head,
air thick,
her
fucking
eyes
moment,
went
either
wide,
like this way.
and she covered her mouth.
I remember the
Oh
weight-
my
the weight
God,
of the moment.
Margaret.
The
Don't.
air thick, fucking
I said
moment,
firmly.
either like this
Don't
way.
ask questions.
I remember
Just help
the
me
weight-
look
the weight of
strong
the
today.
moment.
It
The
took an
air
hour,
thick, fucking
but
moment,
Rosa
either like
fitted
this
a
way.
beautiful silver gray
I
wig on
remember
my
the weight-
head.
the weight of the
It
moment.
looked and moved like
The
real
air
hair.
thick, fucking
When
moment,
she held
either
up the
like
mirror,
this way.
I almost gasped.
I remember the
The
weight-
woman
the
looking
weight of the
back at me
moment.
wasn't broken.
The air thick,
She was
fucking
powerful.
moment, either like this
She
way.
had sharp eyes and
I
a
remember
strong
the
jaw.
weight of the
She
moment.
looked like someone you don't
The air
mess with.
thick, fucking
I
moment, either
recognized
like
her.
this way.
That was Margaret
I
Shaw,
remember the weight-
the
weight of
woman
the
who
moment.
never accepts defeat.
The air thick,
I
fucking
paid
moment,
Rosa
either like
extra,
this way.
thanked her,
I remember
and walked
the
her to the
weight-
door.
weight of the moment.
When I was alone again,
The air
I
thick,
did something
fucking moment,
important.
either like this
I put
way.
a small voice recorder
I
in my
remember the
purse.
weight of the
Something
moment.
told me I
The
would
air
need
thick,
proof
fucking
today.
moment, either
Words
like this way.
alone wouldn't be enough.
I remember
I
the
looked at the
weight
clock.
of the moment.
3 hours
The air
until the
thick,
wedding
fucking
ceremony.
moment, either like
3
this way.
hours to prepare for battle.
I remember the weight-
because
weight
this
of the
wasn't
moment.
just a wedding anymore.
The air thick,
This was
fucking
war,
moment, either
and
like
I was
this
going
way.
to win.
I
I put on my
remember
gray wool
weight of
coat
the moment.
and wrapped a soft scarf
The air
around my
thick,
neck.
fucking moment,
David
either
gave
like
me
this way.
that scarf 10 years
I
ago for
remember
my
weight- weight of the
birthday.
moment.
Back then, he was different.
The air thick,
He was
fucking
MY
moment, either
boy.
like this way.
Now, that
I
memory
remember
felt
weight-
like a
weight of the
knife in my
moment.
heart.
The
I
air
looked at
thick,
myself one
fucking
more
moment,
time in the
either
mirror.
like this way.
The wig looked
I
perfect.
remember
Nobody
weight
would
of the
know.
moment.
I looked like
The
the
air
Margaret
thick,
Shaw
fucking
everyone
moment,
knew.
either like this way.
Strong, elegant,
I remember
powerful.
weight of the moment.
Son,
The air
I
thick,
whispered to my
fucking moment,
reflection.
either like this
Today
way.
you'll learn that you
I
picked the
remember
wrong
weight-
woman to
weight of the
betray.
moment.
I walked
The air
outside
thick,
into the
fucking moment,
freezing
either
Boston
like this
morning.
way.
Cold wind
I
slapped
remember
my
weight- weight at the moment.
but I didn't flinch.
The air thick,
I pulled
fucking
my
moment,
collar up
either
and
like
got
this
into my
way.
car. My
I
driver
remember
looked at me in the
weight at
mirror,
the
about
moment.
to say something.
The air thick,
I shook
fucking
my
moment,
head.
either like this
Not
way.
today. I need
I remember
quiet.
weight
As
at
we
the
drove
moment.
through the snowy streets,
The air thick,
I watched
fucking
people
moment,
through the
either
window.
like this way.
Couples holding hands.
I remember weight at the
Families
moment.
laughing together.
The air thick,
Children
fucking
playing in the
moment,
snow.
either like this
I
way.
wondered how many of them
I
had been
remember
stabbed in the back
weight at the
by the
moment.
people they loved most.
The air thick,
How
fucking
many
moment,
mothers
either
had
like this
given
way.
everything to their
I
children,
remember weight
only to
at
be
the
thrown
moment.
away like garbage.
The air thick,
I
fucking
wasn't
moment,
just fighting
either
for
like this
myself
way.
today. I was
I
fighting
remember
for every
weight at
mother
the
who'd
moment.
been used and
The air
forgotten.
thick, fucking
The car
moment, either
stopped
like
at the
this
church
way.
gates.
I
St.
remember
Andrew's Church,
weight at the moment.
one of the oldest
The
and
air
most
thick,
beautiful
fucking
churches
moment,
in
either
Boston.
like this way.
I pressed my hand
I
to my
remember
chest
weight
and
at
felt
the
something
moment.
strange.
The air
I wasn't
thick,
nervous
fucking
anymore.
moment, either like
I
this way.
felt calm,
I
strong,
remember weight
ready.
at the moment.
I opened the car
The
door,
air thick,
stepped
fucking
down into
moment,
the
either
snow,
like this way.
and smiled.
I
Not a
remember
fake
weight
smile,
at the moment.
a real smile.
The air thick,
a smile
fucking
that
moment,
said,
either like this
I'm
way.
Margaret Shaw,
I
and you
remember
can't break me.
weight at the moment.
Inside the church,
The air thick,
I sat
fucking
on a
moment,
cold
either
wooden
like
bench
this way.
near the back. The
I
staff
remember
rushed around,
weight at the moment.
arranging white flowers
The air
and
thick,
lighting
fucking
tall
moment,
candles.
either like this way.
Everything looked perfect.
I remember
Too perfect,
at the moment.
like a beautiful
The air
lie.
thick
As I
fucking
sat
moment to
there,
the like this one.
memories flooded my mind.
I remember the way
Memories
the
I'd buried
moment.
deep for years
The air
because
thick
they hurt
fucking
too
moment
much.
to the like this
I
one.
remembered the day
I
everything
remember the
changed.
way the
The
moment.
day I was 32
The air
years
thick
old,
fucking
and
moment to
someone
the like
handed me a
this one.
piece of paper that said
I
my
remember
husband
the
was dead.
the moment.
Richard. My
The air
sweet
thick
Richard.
fucking moment
He
to
died
the
from a
like this
sudden
one.
heart attack while
I
driving
remember
home
the
from work.
the
One
moment.
minute we were talking on the
The air
phone
thick
about
fucking moment
expanding
to
our
the like
small
this one.
business. The next
I
minute,
remember the
I was
the
standing in a
moment.
hospital hallway,
The air thick
covering my
fucking
face
moment
with
to
my
the like
hands,
this one.
unable to breathe.
I remember the weight,
David was
weight at the
only
moment.
12 years old.
The air
He
thick,
came
fucking
running down the
moment,
hospital
like this
corridor
way.
in his school uniform.
I remember the
his
weight,
face
weight at the
full
moment.
of confusion.
The air
Mom,
thick, fucking
where's
moment,
Dad?
like this
Why
way.
are you crying?
I remember
Where's
the weight,
Dad?
weight at the moment.
I had no answer.
The air thick, fucking
I just
moment,
pulled him
like
close and
this
held
way.
him tight while my whole
I
world
remember
fell
the
apart.
weight at the
That
moment.
night, I made a
The
promise.
air thick, fucking
a
moment,
promise that
like this way.
changed everything.
I remember
I
the
whispered
weight,
into
weight at
David's
the
hair.
moment.
You will
The
never
air
go
thick, fucking
hungry.
moment,
You
like
will
this
never
way.
be scared.
I
I will
remember
give
the
you
weight, weight at the
everything.
moment.
And
The
I
air
kept that
thick,
promise.
fucking moment,
For
like
20
this way.
years, I kept it.
I remember
We went back
weight,
to
weight
our
at the
tiny
moment.
house outside Boston.
The air thick,
That
fucking
house had
moment,
2 small
like this way.
bedrooms, a kitchen with a
I
broken
remember
stove,
weight at
and
the
walls
moment.
so thin you
The
could hear
air
the
thick,
neighbors
fucking
arguing.
moment,
We
like
had
this way.
almost no money.
I remember
Richard's
weight,
life
weight at the
insurance
moment.
barely covered the
The air
funeral.
thick, fucking
I remember
moment,
sitting in
like
an
this
old
way.
armchair that night,
I remember
watching
weight,
David
weight
sleep
at
on
the
the
moment.
couch. He
The
looked
air
so
thick,
small,
fucking moment,
so
like
fragile.
this way.
His father's
I
death had
remember
stolen the
weight
light
at the
from his
moment.
eyes. I
The
made
air
another
thick,
promise that
fucking
night.
moment,
I
like
will
this
build
way.
something.
I
I will
remember
create a
weight,
life
weight at
where
the
you never
moment.
feel this pain
The
again.
air thick,
The
fucking
next
moment,
morning,
like
I
this way.
started. I took the
I
little money
remember
we had
weight at the
and
moment.
bought a rundown apartment
The air
building.
thick, fucking
It was
moment,
falling
like
apart.
this way.
The roof leaked.
I remember
The walls
weight,
had
weight at
holes.
the moment.
But it was
The air
mine.
thick, fucking
I
moment,
worked like a
like
machine.
this way.
I woke up at
I
5
remember
every
weight,
morning.
weight at the moment.
I put on old jeans
air
and work
thick,
boots
fucking moment,
and went to
like
that
this
building.
way.
I
I
painted
remember
walls.
weight at the
I
moment.
fixed pipes.
The air
I cleaned
thick,
up trash.
fucking moment, like
My
this
hands
way.
got covered in blisters.
I remember weight,
My
weight at
back
the moment.
ached every night.
The air
But
thick,
slowly,
fucking moment,
that
like
building
this way.
became beautiful.
I
rented
remember
out the
weight
apartments.
at the moment.
The money I earned,
The air thick,
I
fucking
saved
moment,
every
like
penny.
this way.
I didn't buy new
I remember
clothes.
weight at
I
the
didn't go to
moment.
restaurants.
The air
I didn't
thick,
take
fucking moment,
vacations.
like this
Every
way.
dollar went into
I
the next
remember
building.
weight at the
and
moment.
the next. And
The
the
air
next.
thick, fucking
David
moment,
grew up
like this
watching me
way.
work. He saw me
remember
leave before
weight at the
sunrise and
moment.
come home after
The air
dark.
thick,
He
fucking
saw me
moment,
reading thick
like this
contracts
way.
at the kitchen table.
I remember
My eyes
weight
so
at the
tired
moment.
I could barely see.
The air thick,
Mom,
fucking moment,
why do
like
you work
this way.
so hard? He
I
asked me
remember
once when he was 16.
weight at the moment.
I looked at him
The air
and
thick,
smiled.
fucking moment, like
Because
this
I want
way.
you to have the best life
I remember
possible,
weight at
sweetheart.
the moment.
Everything I do
The
is
air
for you.
thick, fucking
He
moment,
hugged me that
like
day.
this way.
You're the strongest
I
person I
remember
know, Mom.
weight at the
That
moment.
memory made my
The
heart
air
break
thick,
now,
fucking moment,
sitting in
like
this
this way.
church. Because somewhere along
remember
the way,
weight
my
at the
strong,
moment.
loving
The
boy
air
turned
thick,
into
fucking
someone
moment,
I didn't
like this way.
recognize. It started
I
when he
remember
met
weight
Victoria
at the
3 years
moment.
ago at a business
The air
party.
thick, fucking
She was
moment,
28,
like this way.
beautiful,
I
and
remember
charming.
weight at the moment.
She had perfect blonde
The air
hair,
thick, fucking
perfect
moment,
white teeth,
like this way.
and a perfect smile
I
that
remember
never reached her eyes.
at the moment.
From the first
The
moment
air
I met
thick,
her,
fucking
something
moment,
felt
like
wrong.
this way.
The way she looked at
I
my
remember
house,
weight
the
at
way
the
she
moment.
asked questions about
The
my
air
business,
thick, fucking
the way
moment,
she
like
touched
this
David's
way.
arm and
I
whispered in his
remember
ear.
weight at
But
the
David
moment.
was in love.
The air thick,
His
fucking
eyes lit up
moment,
whenever
like
she
this
walked
way.
into a room.
I remember
He laughed at all her
at the
jokes.
moment.
He bought her
The air
expensive
thick,
gifts.
fucking moment,
Mom,
like this way.
I think she's the one.
I remember
He told me
weight
6
at the
months after they
moment.
met.
The
I want
air
to marry
thick,
her.
fucking moment,
My stomach
like this way.
twisted, but I smiled.
I remember
If she makes you
at the
happy,
moment.
then I'm happy.
The air thick,
That was a
fucking
lie.
moment, like
But
this
what
way.
could I do?
I
He was
remember
my son,
weight at the moment.
my only child.
The air
I
thick,
couldn't
fucking
lose him.
moment, like this
So
way.
I welcomed
I
Victoria
remember
into our
weight
family.
at the moment.
I invited her to
The
dinners.
air thick,
I
fucking
asked
moment,
about her
like
day.
this way.
I tried to love
I
her
remember
because David
at
loved
the
her.
moment.
But
The
Victoria
air
never
thick,
warmed up to
fucking
me.
moment, like
She was
this way.
always polite but cold.
I remember weight
like
at
I
the
was
moment.
an obstacle she had
The
to
air
deal with.
thick, fucking
During
moment,
family
like
dinners,
this way.
she would check her
I
phone while I
remember
talked.
weight at the
When I
moment.
offered advice,
The air
she would
thick,
smile
fucking
and
moment,
ignore
like
it.
this way.
Then, slowly,
I remember
David started
weight
changing.
at the moment.
He stopped calling
The
me
air
every
thick,
day.
fucking
He
moment,
stopped
like
visiting on
this way.
Sundays. When
I
I asked
remember
if something was
weight at the
wrong, he
moment.
said,
The
I'm
air
just
thick,
busy, Mom.
fucking moment, like this
Victoria
way.
and I have our own life
I remember
now.
weight at
Our
the
own
moment.
life.
The
Those
air
words
thick,
hurt
fucking
more than he
moment,
knew.
like this way.
The wedding planning was
I remember
even worse.
weight at the moment.
Victoria didn't ask
The
my
air
opinion
thick,
about
fucking
anything.
moment, like this
She
way.
picked the church
I
without
remember
telling me.
weight at the
She
moment.
chose the flowers,
The air
music,
thick, fucking
the
moment,
food,
like this way.
all without asking what
I
I
remember
thought.
weight
When I
at the
tried to
moment.
help, she said
The air
sweetly.
thick fucking romantic
Oh,
like this
Margaret, you've
I
done
remember
so
the
much
wait
already.
at the moment.
Just relax and
The air
enjoy
thick
being the mother of
fucking
the groom.
romantic like this
But her eyes said
I
something
remember
different.
wait
Her
at the
eyes
moment.
said, "Stay
The
out
air
of my
thick
way."
fucking romantic
Still,
like
I
this
tried. I tried
remember the
so
way you
hard
waited the moment.
because I loved
The air
David
thick
more than my
fucking
own
romantic
life.
like this way.
2 months ago, I
I
decided to give
remember
them
the way
the
you
wedding
waited
gift.
the moment.
$22
The air
million.
thick fucking romantic
Enough
like this
money
way.
to buy a mansion,
I remember
start a
the way you
business,
waited the
live
moment.
like royalty.
The air
I
thick
thought
fucking
maybe,
romantic
just
like
maybe,
this way.
this gift would show
I remember the
Victoria
way
that
you
I
waited the
accepted her,
moment.
that I wanted
The
her to
air
be
thick
happy,
fucking romantic
that
like
I
this
wasn't
way.
her enemy.
I
I was
remember
so
the way
wrong.
you waited the
A
moment.
voice snapped me
The
back
air
to the
thick
present.
fucking romantic
Excuse
like
me,
this way.
are you all right? I
I
looked
remember
up.
the way you
An
waited the
elderly
moment.
woman in a purple
The air
dress
thick
smiled at me
fucking
kindly.
romantic like this
I
way.
realized tears were
I
running
remember
down
the
my
way you
face.
waited the moment.
Yes,
The
I
air
said
thick
quickly,
fucking
wiping my
romantic like
eyes.
this way.
Just emotional.
I remember the
My
way you
son
waited
is
the
getting
moment.
married today.
The air thick
She
fucking
patted my
romantic
hand.
like this way.
It's hard to let them go,
I remember
isn't
the
it?
way you waited
If
the
only
moment.
she knew.
The
I
air
wasn't
thick
letting him
fucking
go.
romantic
He was
like
being
this way.
stolen from me.
I
I
remember
checked
the
my
way you
watch.
waited the moment.
1 hour until the
The air
ceremony.
thick fucking
Guests
romantic
were starting
like
to
this way.
arrive. I saw
I
people I
remember the
knew
way
from
you waited
business,
the moment.
friends of David's,
The air thick fucking
Victoria's
romantic
giggling
like this way.
bridesmaids in pink dresses.
I remember the way
And
you
then I
waited the
saw her.
moment.
Victoria
The air
walked in
thick
through the
fucking
side door,
romantic like this way.
surrounded by her friends.
I remember the way
She
you
wore a
waited the
white
moment.
silk robe over
The
her
air
wedding
thick
dress.
fucking romantic
Her blonde
like
hair was
this way.
curled perfectly.
I remember the
She
way
looked
you
like a
waited the
princess.
moment.
But when her
The air
eyes met
thick
mine
fucking
across the
romantic
church,
like this
I
way.
saw something
I
evil
remember the
flash
way
in
you
them.
waited the
Just for a
moment.
second,
The
a
air
tiny
thick
smile
fucking
played at her
romantic like
lips.
this way.
She knew I was here.
I remember the way
She
you waited
probably
the
thought
moment.
I would hide at home,
The air thick
too ashamed to
fucking
show my
romantic like
face
this
after
way.
what she did. But
I
here I
remember
was,
the way you waited the
wig in
moment.
place,
The
head
air
held
thick
high.
fucking
Her
romantic
smile
like this way.
disappeared. She
I
looked
remember the way
confused,
you waited the
almost
moment.
angry.
The air
Good.
thick
I
fucking
stood up,
romantic like this
smoothed my
way.
dress, and
I
walked
remember the
toward
way
the
you
front of the
waited the
church
moment.
where Mother sit.
The air
Each
thick
step
fucking
felt like a
romantic
victory.
like this way.
Each step said,
I remember the way
"You didn't
you waited
break
the
me."
moment.
As I
The
passed
air thick
Victoria,
fucking
I
romantic
stopped,
like this
looked
way.
her straight in the eyes,
I remember the way
and
you waited the
smiled.
moment.
Beautiful day
The
for a
air
wedding,
thick fucking
I said
romantic like this
softly.
way.
I wouldn't miss it for
I
the
remember
world.
the way you
Her
waited the
face
moment.
went pale.
The air
She
thick
opened her
fucking
mouth,
romantic
but
like
no
this way.
words came out.
I remember
I
the
kept
way you
walking,
waited the moment.
my heart pounding
The air
with
thick
satisfaction.
fucking romantic
The
like
battle
this
had
way.
begun,
I
and
remember
I
the
was
way you
winning.
waited the moment.
The church filled with
The air
people.
thick fucking
Soft
romantic
music played
like
from
this
the
way.
organ. Everyone
I
wore
remember
fancy
the way you
clothes
waited
and
the
big
moment.
smiles.
The
They
air
had no
thick
idea
fucking romantic
what was
like
really
this way.
happening. I
I
sat in the
remember
front
the way
row,
you waited the
right where the
moment.
groom's mother should
The air
sit.
thick fucking
My hand
romantic
rested
like
on my
this way.
purse, where the
I
voice
remember the
recorder
way you
waited
waited the
silently.
moment.
All I
The air
needed was
thick
one
fucking
moment,
romantic
one
like
slip,
this way.
one confession.
I remember the way you
The
waited the
ceremony
moment.
began. David
air
walked down
thick
the
fucking
aisle in a
romantic
sharp
like
black
this
suit.
way.
My heart
I remember
ached
the
when
way
I
you
saw him.
waited the moment.
He looked so
The air
handsome,
thick
so grown
fucking
up.
romantic
For a
like this way.
second, I saw him as a
I
little
remember
boy
the way
again,
you waited the
holding my
moment.
hand on his first
The
day
air
of
thick
school.
fucking
But then
romantic like
Victoria
this way.
appeared at the back of the
I
church,
remember the way
and
you waited the
everything
moment.
changed.
The
She
air
walked
thick
down the
fucking
aisle in a
romantic
stunning
like
white
this way.
dress, holding her
I
father's
remember the
arm.
way you waited
Everyone
the moment.
gasped at how
The
beautiful
air
she
thick
looked,
fucking
but
romantic
all I could
like
see
this
was the
way.
monster underneath.
I remember
The
the way
woman
you
who
waited
snuck
the
into my
moment.
bedroom and
The
shaved
air
my head
thick
while I
fucking
slept.
romantic like
When she
this way.
passed my row,
I
our
remember the
eyes
way you
locked
waited
again.
the moment.
This time,
The air
she
thick
smirked.
fucking romantic
A
like this
tiny,
way.
mean smile
I
that
remember
said,
the way you
"I
waited the
won."
moment.
Not yet,
The
you
air
haven't,
thick
I thought.
fucking romantic
The
like
priest
this
began
way.
talking about love,
I remember the way
commitment,
you
and
waited the
family.
moment.
Each word
The air
felt like a
thick
joke.
fucking romantic
Victoria
like this
held
way.
David's hands and
I
gazed at
remember
him
the way
with
you
fake
waited the
tears in her
moment.
eyes.
The
My
air
son
thick
looked at her
fucking
like
romantic
she
like
was his
this
whole
way.
world. It
I
made me
remember the
sick.
way you waited the
If
moment.
anyone objects to this
The air
marriage,
thick
the
fucking
priest said,
romantic like this
"Speak
way.
now or
I
forever
remember the
hold
way
your
you
peace."
waited the moment.
The church
The air
went
thick
silent.
fucking romantic
Everyone
like
held
this
their
way.
breath. Part
I
of me
remember
wanted
the
to
way you
stand up
waited the
and
moment.
scream the truth,
The air
but
thick
I stayed
fucking
quiet
romantic like this
because
way.
I had a better plan.
I remember the
I
way
now
you waited the
pronounce you
moment.
husband and wife.
The air thick
You may
fucking
kiss the
romantic
bride.
like this way.
Everyone clapped.
I remember the way
David
you waited
kissed
the
Victoria.
moment.
The organ
The air
played
thick
loud,
fucking romantic
happy music.
like this way.
People cheered.
I remember
I
the way
clapped
you waited
too,
the moment.
even though each
The
clap
air
felt
thick
like a
fucking
lie.
romantic
The
like this
reception
way.
was held at the Grand
I
Harbor
remember
Hotel,
the wait at the moment.
fanciest place in Boston.
The air thick, fucking
Crystal
romantic,
chandeliers
like
hung
this
from
way.
the ceiling.
I
White
remember the
roses
wait at
covered
the moment.
every table.
The
A
air
band
thick,
played
fucking
jazz
romantic,
music while
like this way.
waiters served champagne.
I
I
remember the
sat at the
wait
family
at the
table,
moment.
smiling
The air
politely
thick,
while
fucking
relatives
romantic, like
congratulated
this way.
David and Victoria.
I remember the
My
wait
face
at
hurt
the
from
moment.
fake smiling.
The air thick,
Victoria's
fucking
friends
romantic,
surrounded
like
her,
this way.
giggling and taking
I remember
pictures.
the wait
I
at the
watched her
moment.
carefully,
The
waiting
air
for my
thick,
moment.
fucking romantic,
Then I
like
heard
this way.
it. Victoria
I
was
remember the
standing near the
weight of the
bathroom
moment.
hallway with her best
The
friend,
air thick,
Chelsea.
spoken romantic,
They didn't
like
see me
this way.
sitting on the other side of the
I
tall
remember the
flower
weight
arrangement.
of the moment.
They thought they were
The
alone.
air thick, spoken
I
romantic,
quietly
like
reached
this
into my
way.
purse
I
and
remember
pressed
the
record on my
weight of
voice
the
recorder.
moment.
Oh my
The air
God,
thick,
Victoria.
spoken romantic,
You
like this way.
actually did it.
I remember
Chelsea
the
whispered,
weight of the
laughing.
moment.
You
The
shaved
air
her
thick,
head.
spoken romantic,
Victoria
like
laughed
this
too.
way.
I mean, cruel
I
laugh.
remember the weight
She
of the
looked
moment.
so pathetic this
The
morning.
air thick,
I
spoken
wanted her to
romantic,
feel as
like this
ugly
way.
as she really is.
I remember the weight
My
of
hands
the
clenched
moment.
into fists under the
The air
table, but
thick,
I didn't
spoken
move.
romantic, like
Chelsea
this way.
gasped. What if
I
she finds
remember
out
the
it was you?
weight of the moment.
Victoria shrugged.
The air
So
thick,
what?
spoken romantic,
What's she going to
like
do?
this way.
David will never
I
believe
remember
her
the
over me.
weight of the
He's
moment.
completely wrapped
The
around
air
my
thick,
finger.
spoken romantic,
Besides,
like this
after
way.
we get that $22
I
million,
remember the weight of the
we can go
moment.
anywhere we want.
The air thick,
We can cut
spoken
her out
romantic,
completely.
like this way.
$22 million?
I remember the weight
Chelsea's
of the
voice
moment.
went high
The
with
air
excitement.
thick, spoken romantic,
Oh my God.
like this way.
Yep,
I
Victoria said
remember
proudly.
the weight of the
That
moment.
old woman worked her
The
whole
air
life
thick,
building her
spoken
little
romantic,
empire,
like this way.
and now it's all going
I
to be
remember the
mine.
weight of the
David doesn't
moment.
even realize I'm
The air
only
thick,
marrying him
spoken
for the money.
romantic, like this way.
He's so desperate for
I
love that
remember
he'll
the
believe
weight of the
anything I
moment.
say.
The air
My
thick,
heart
spoken
shattered
romantic,
into a
like
million
this way.
pieces. Not
I
for me.
remember the weight
For
of the
David.
moment.
You're brilliant,
The air
Chelsea
thick,
giggled.
spoken romantic,
But what
like
if
this
Margaret
way.
doesn't give you the money?
I remember the
Victoria's
weight of the
voice
moment.
turned cold.
The air
She
thick,
will.
spoken romantic,
She's so
like this way.
desperate to keep David in her
I
life that
remember
she'll
the
do
weight of the
anything.
moment.
And once we have
The
the
air
money,
thick, spoken
I'll
romantic,
slowly
like
turn
this
David
way.
against her completely.
I remember the
She'll die
weight of the
alone while we
moment.
live in luxury.
The air thick,
I
spoken
heard enough.
romantic, like this
I
way.
pressed up on the recorder
I remember
and
the
stood up.
weight of the
My
moment.
legs felt weak,
The air thick,
but my
spoken
mind was
romantic,
clear,
like this way.
crystal clear.
I
If
remember
this
the
story is
weight of the
giving you
moment.
chills,
The
smash
air
that
thick,
like button
spoken
right now.
romantic, like this
Share
way.
this with everyone who
I
needs to
remember
hear
the
it.
weight of
And
the moment.
subscribe because the ending
air
is about to
thick,
blow
spoken
your
romantic,
mind.
like this
I
way.
walked straight to the DJ
I
booth
remember the
and
weight
whispered
of the
something in his
moment.
ear. He
The
looked
air thick,
surprised but
spoken
nodded.
romantic,
The
like this
music
way.
stopped.
I
Everyone
remember
turned
the
to look.
weight of the
I took the
moment.
microphone,
The air
and my
thick,
voice
spoken
echoed
romantic,
through the
like
entire
this way.
ballroom. Good evening,
I remember
everyone.
the weight
I'm
of the
Margaret
moment.
Shaw, mother
The
of the
air
groom.
thick, spoken
I'd like to
romantic,
say a
like
few
this way.
words. David
I
smiled
remember
at me
the
nervously.
weight of the moment.
Victoria's face
The air
went pale.
thick, spoken
When
romantic,
my
like
husband
this way.
died 20 years ago,
I remember the
I
weight
began
of
my
the
voice
moment.
steady.
The
I was
air
left with
thick,
nothing
spoken
but a
romantic,
12-year-old
like this way.
son and a broken
I
heart.
remember the weight
But I
of
made
the
a
moment.
promise. I
The air
promised
thick,
David
spoken
would have
romantic, like this way.
everything. A good life,
I remember the
a safe
weight
home,
of the moment.
every opportunity.
The air thick, spoken
People
romantic,
nodded,
like this way.
smiling. They thought
I
this was a
remember the
sweet
weight of
speech.
the moment.
I worked
The
18-hour
air
days.
thick, spoken
I
romantic,
built
like
buildings
this
with
way.
my own hands.
I remember
I
the weight of
sacrificed
the moment.
everything so my son
The
could
air
have a
thick,
better
spoken
future.
romantic, like
And
this
today,
way.
I plan to give
I remember
David
the
and
weight
Victoria
of the
$22
moment.
million as
The
a
air
wedding
thick,
gift.
spoken romantic,
Gasps
like
filled
this
the
way.
room.
I
Victoria's
remember the
eyes
weight
went
of the
wide.
moment.
But this morning,
The air thick,
I
spoken
continued,
romantic, like
my
this way.
voice getting stronger.
I remember
I
the
woke up with
weight
my
of the
head
moment.
completely shaved.
The air thick,
Someone
spoken
broke into my
romantic, like
bedroom
this
while
way.
I slept and
I
humiliated
remember
me on what
weight
should
of
have
the
been one of the
moment.
happiest days
The
of my
air
life.
thick, spoken romantic,
More
like
gasps.
this way.
People started
I
whispering.
remember the weight
David
of the
stood up,
moment.
his face confused.
The air thick, spoken
Mom,
romantic,
what are
like
you
this
talking
way.
about? I
I
slowly
remember
removed my
weight
wig.
of the moment.
The entire room
The air
gasped.
thick, spoken
Some people
romantic,
screamed.
like this way.
David's face went
I
white.
remember the weight
My
of the
bare,
moment.
red scalp
The air
shined
thick,
under the
spoken
chandelier
romantic,
lights.
like this way.
I never felt more
I remember
exposed
the
and more
weight of the
powerful at
moment.
the same time.
The air thick,
Someone did
spoken
this to me.
romantic, like this
I
way.
said clearly.
I remember
And they
the
left me a note
weight
that
of the
said,
moment.
Congratulations,
The air thick, spoken
you
romantic,
finally have a
like this way.
haircut that matches your
I
age.
remember the weight of
Victoria
the moment.
started shaking.
The air thick,
She tried to back
spoken
away,
romantic, like
but
this
people
way.
blocked her path.
I remember
But the
the
interesting
weight
thing,
of the moment.
I continued,
The air thick,
holding up my
spoken
phone where I
romantic, like this way.
transferred the recording,
I
is that I
remember the
just
weight
recorded a
of the moment.
conversation between the
The
bride
air
and her
thick,
friend.
spoken romantic,
Would
like
everyone
this way.
like to hear it?
I
No,
remember the weight
Victoria
of the moment.
screamed. You're
The air
lying.
thick, spoken
You're a bitter
romantic,
old
like
woman
this
who
way.
can't let go of her son.
I remember the weight
But I
of the
pressed
moment.
play. Victoria's
thick,
voice
spoken
filled the
romantic,
ballroom,
like this
crystal
way.
clear.
I
I wanted her to
remember the
feel as
weight of the
ugly as she
moment.
really is.
The air thick,
David's
spoken
completely
romantic,
wrapped
like
around my
this way.
finger. I'm
I
only
remember
marrying
the
him for
the
the
weight of the moment.
She'll
The
die
air
alone
thick
while we live
fucking
in
moment,
luxury.
the legs this way.
The room exploded.
I remember the
People
weight
started
of the
yelling.
moment.
David stumbled
The air
backward
thick
like
fucking
someone
moment,
had
the
punched
legs
him.
this way.
His face showed
I
horror,
remember the weight
betrayal,
of the moment.
pain.
The
all
air
at
thick
once.
fucking moment, the legs
Victoria,
this way.
he whispered, tell me
I
this
remember
isn't
the
true.
weight of the
Please.
moment.
But
The air
Victoria
thick
couldn't
fucking moment,
speak.
the legs this
Tears
way.
ran down her face,
I remember the
ruining her
weight of the
perfect
moment.
makeup. Not
The air
tears of
thick fucking
sadness,
moment, the legs
tears
this
of
way.
being caught.
I
You
remember the
used me?
weight at the moment.
David's voice broke.
The air thick.
You
fucking
never loved
moment,
me?
Like this way.
Victoria tried to
I
grab
remember
his
the
arm,
weight at the
but
moment.
he pulled away
The
like
air
she was
thick. Fucking
poison.
moment, like
David,
this way.
wait. I can
I
explain.
remember the weight at
She's
the moment.
manipulating you.
The air
Victoria
thick. Fucking moment,
sobbed,
like
but
this
David
way.
looked at me.
I
Really
remember
looked
the
at me.
weight at the moment.
And for the first time in 3
The air
years,
thick.
I
Fucking
saw my
moment,
son again.
like this way.
The boy who used to tell
I
me
remember the
I
weight
was the
at the
strongest
moment.
person he knew.
The air thick.
Mom,
Fucking moment,
he
like
whispered,
this way.
touching my bare
I
head
remember
gently.
the weight
I'm
at the
so
moment.
sorry.
The air
I'm
thick.
so
Fucking
sorry.
moment, like this
I
way.
pulled him into a hug,
I
and we
remember
both
the
cried.
weight at the moment.
20 years of love,
The air thick.
pain,
Fucking moment, like
sacrifice,
this way.
and betrayal poured
I
out in
remember
that
the
moment.
weight at the moment.
Victoria's father
The
grabbed
air
her
thick.
arm
Fucking
and
moment,
dragged her toward the
like this way.
exit. We're leaving.
I remember the weight
now.
at the moment.
Victoria screamed
The air
and
thick.
cried,
Fucking moment,
but
like
nobody
this way.
cared. Guests
I
moved
remember
away
the
from her
weight
like
at the
she had a
moment.
disease.
The
Her
air
friends
thick.
pretended
Fucking
they didn't know her.
like this way.
Security escorted
I
her out.
remember the weight
The
at the
beautiful
moment.
bride, now
The air
revealed as
thick.
a
Fucking
monster,
moment, like this way.
disappeared through the doors.
I remember
3
the
months
weight
later,
at the moment.
I sat in my office,
The air thick.
looking out at
Fucking
the
moment,
Boston skyline.
like this way.
The buildings I built stood
remember the
tall
weight
and
at the
strong, just
moment.
like me.
The air
David came
thick.
in
Fucking
carrying
moment,
2 cups of
like this
coffee.
way.
He'd moved back
I remember
home
the weight
after
at
the
the
wedding
moment.
disaster.
The
We were
air thick.
rebuilding our
Fucking moment,
relationship
like this way.
slowly and carefully.
I remember
The
the
annulment
weight at the
papers came
moment.
through. He
The air
said quietly,
thick. Fucking moment,
"It's official.
like this way.
The marriage
I
never
remember
existed."
the weight at the
I
moment.
nodded. Good.
The air thick. Fucking
Mom,
moment, like
I need to
this way.
say something.
I
David
remember
sat
the
down
weight
across
at
from
the
me.
moment.
I was blind.
The air thick. Fucking
I let
moment,
Victoria
like this
manipulate
way.
me. I ignored
I remember
you.
the weight
I took
at
you
the
for
moment.
granted. You
The
gave
air
me
thick.
everything,
Fucking moment,
and I
like
treated
this
you
way.
like you didn't matter.
I remember the
I
weight
reached
at the
across
moment.
and held his hand.
The air thick.
You were in
Fucking
love.
moment, like
Love
this way.
makes us do foolish
I remember
things.
the weight
But
at the
I
moment.
should have protected you,
The air
he
thick.
said,
Fucking moment,
tears in his
like
eyes.
this way.
You're my mother.
I remember the
You
weight
built all
at
of
the
this for
moment.
me. And
The air
I let
thick.
someone
Fucking
hurt you
moment,
in
like
the
this
worst
way.
way possible.
I remember
David,
the
listen to me.
weight at the moment.
I squeezed
The
his
air
hand.
thick. Fucking
Yes,
moment,
you made
like this way.
mistakes. But you're here now.
I remember the weight
You
at
opened
the
your
moment.
eyes. That's
The air
what matters.
thick. Fucking moment,
He
like
hugged
this
me
way.
tight. I
I
love you,
remember
Mom.
the weight at the
And
moment.
I'm going to spend the rest
air
of my
thick.
life
Fucking
proving it.
moment, like
I
this way.
smiled, really
I remember
smiled,
the
for the
weight
first
at
time
the
in months.
moment.
I
The
know
air
you will.
thick. Fucking moment,
Later that
like
evening,
this way.
I went to my
I
bedroom
remember
and
the
opened the
weight
safe.
at the moment.
The envelope with the
air
$22
thick.
million
Fucking moment,
sat
like
inside,
this way.
exactly where I'd
I
left
remember
it.
the weight
But
at the
I'd
moment.
made a new decision.
The air
That
thick.
money would
Fucking
go to
moment,
David
like this
and
way.
some gold digger wife.
I remember the
It would go
weight
into
at
a
the moment.
foundation.
The
A
air thick.
foundation to
Fucking
help
moment,
single mothers
like
build
this way.
businesses. To
I
help
remember
women
the
who've been
weight at the
betrayed
moment.
and broken
The
rebuild
air
their
thick.
lives.
Fucking moment,
I would
like
call it
this
the
way.
Richard Shaw Foundation
I
after
remember
my
the
husband.
weight at the moment.
And every woman who
The air
received
thick.
help would know
Fucking
that they
moment,
were strong
like
enough
this
to
way.
rise again.
I
I
remember
looked
the
at myself in the
weight at
mirror.
the moment.
My hair was growing
The air
back,
thick. Fucking
soft
moment,
and
like
silver.
this way.
I decided not
I
to diet
remember the
anymore.
weight at the
These
moment.
gray hairs
The air
represented
thick.
survival,
Fucking moment, like
strength,
this way.
victory.
I remember
I was
the
Margaret
weight
Shaw.
at the moment.
I woke up bald
The
on
air
my
thick.
son's
Fucking
wedding
moment,
day.
like this
My
way.
daughter-in-law tried to
I
destroy
remember the
me,
weight at
but
the
she
moment.
learned the hardest
The
lesson
air
of her
thick.
life.
Fucking moment,
You can
like
shave a
this way.
woman's head, but
I
you
remember
can
the
never
weight
shave her
at the
power.
moment.
Did this story
The air
move you?
thick. Fucking
Hit
moment,
that like
like
button.
this way.
Share it with
I
every
remember
mother,
weight
every
at the
daughter,
moment.
every
The air
person
thick.
who's
Fucking
ever been
moment,
betrayed.
like this way.
And subscribe for
I
more
remember
incredible
weight
true
at the
stories that
moment.
will shake you to your
The
core.
air thick.
Drop
Fucking
a
moment,
comment telling
like
me,
this way.
what would you have done in
I
Margaret's
remember the
situation?
weight at the moment.
Let's talk in the comments
The
below.
air thick.